In a book for an exhibition that's about Australian and British photographers, I chose to write about Neighbours, not because I'm willfully perverse or a Neighbours obsessive. Having said that, I do count myself amongst the 1.3 million people living in the UK who do tune into Neighbours. I wanted to make a comment about nationalisms, and I wanted to perhaps find a way of making a contribution to this book in which artists have been chosen because they are part of either a British or an Australian photographic community, but which also speaks to the fact that artists are absolutely always much more than the country they're from or the country they're living in. There's a more complex story to be told than just Australian and British. So for me, Ramsay Street became a metaphor, a device. I posit Ramsay Street as a shared Anglo-Australian space with a lot of fantasy operating from both directions. There's more and more crossover and exchange, and Neighbours becomes a really handy example to examine that. So, for instance, in the first few years that Neighbours was broadcasting in Britain, visits to Australia by British people soared by 30 to 40%, and particularly in the young post-high school age group. So I'm speaking about a wish to muddy the argument about nationalisms, even while I will be the first to be kind of waving an Aussie flag in the air, and it's only by dint of my boyfriend's strongest recommendation I'm not wearing now a koala emblazoned jumper. So I'm a terribly daggy patriot and lover of all things Aussie. Though back in the day, I have to say, you know, I was a Neighbours fan of the Shane Robinson, I love you forever, scrawled on my pencil case kind. I'm not so committed anymore, but join the Facebook group I Saw Bouncer's Dream and you will be jet propelled back in time to 1990. It's clearly a memorable episode within an episode of Neighbours because it's been uploaded on YouTube and viewed so many thousands of times, and what it depicts is, if my argument is that Neighbours represents some kind of fantastic projection, a dream, then this, what Bouncer's dream is, it's the dream within the dream. And what it actually shows is Bouncer, if you recall, and you must recall, Bouncer is the dog owned at this point in the Neighbours plotline by Joe Mangel, is drifting off to sleep in front of a wedding video, the wedding of his owner. As Bouncer enters REM sleep, what does he dream of? Not a juicy T-bone, but instead of marriage to the next door neighbour girl dog, of gambling pups, of a little kennel to call his own. And I think why that particular fantasy appeals is that it's, for me, kind of a metaphor for the larger dream that Neighbours sells, that happiness lies really at the end of your backyard with a hot dog next door.